In fact, this is one of the challenge to the journalists, especially reporting from the ground. And being a conflict zones, and now in many conflict zones are in the world, so it become more and more challenging by the day. So it depends here also on your whether you are reporting for television, whether you are reporting for electronic media, like you are reporting for a newspaper, radio, or it could be just you going live from there as a freelancer. So therefore, your positioning on the ground is very important if you're reporting. Like we do many of the conflict zones, some of our colleagues who are in the print media, they will simply watch from far away. They will see what's going on the ground, and immediately they will go and write their story. But for me, like I'm a television reporter, I need to be on the spot, nearest point, and background, should be showing the conflict so people can establish where you are. So that give you the access, and that give you the more vulnerability to be one of the major target, either for a snipers or for sharpens or anything can fall on your head. So therefore, reporting from a conflict zone has always been a challenging for most of the journalists, and I think that is the most difficult, and that's why you have seen in the last 1 decade the number of deaths among journalists because of the wars have increased, and because of the abductions and also the targeting of them is also have increased. So that all, having said that, I would say it is very tough and very difficult to report from the ground unless and until you have been well equipped, well professional. But your protections, your self-protection is one of the major priorities should be in your head, that your safety first and then your channels and the others can wait. This is what I was trying to say. Like for a print media, he can sit in the bunkers and he can report. But if you don't have a pictures, you don't have a story. If you don't see me on the pictures, I don't have a story to give you. So that's why we are always in the front line. We are always closer to the conflict zone where we have to report and show you the live pictures of what's happening on the ground. So that's what means by television reporting. So television has to give you a picture, has to give you my voice, my analysis, and it's you as an audience and the viewers has to judge what exactly is going on the ground. And there where it is the excitement, where it is the emotion build up with the talks, with the review, with the comments we give you, and there we will be able to understand what is the television reporting on the ground. That's the main advantage and attractions of being a television reporter. Look, in any profession, you have to have a good curriculum. I don't know what the different university have different setup of curriculum to teach their student and to put their mind. But overall pictures, I think there are lots of challenges have added to our profession, that there are lots of new things have happened. There are citizen journalism, there are bloggers, there are social media, there are lots of, inputs that have made even uh, our reporting as our profession irrelevant. Many of the reporter, many of the corporate houses also, because of the crunch of the money, they don't spend good amount of money. So they don't keep a reporter on the ground. So unless and until you have studied journalism in all its aspects and you have already learned it in a way, one has to study. You have to be professionals. You have to be very educated, very analytic in your studies, in your follow-up, in your updating yourself with different stories. And I used to travel, for example, to Jaffna and all. I used to carry bags. I used to carry handbags with me. I used to carry, equipment, light, mic, extra wires and all. Now, journalist, I go to the field, I take my earphones, I take my phone, I put Googles on my head or maybe the camera of the phone, and I'm reporting live from the spot. So things have changed. So unless and until you have cope yourself with the latest technology, along with the traditional way of teaching journalism, then you can say, oh, I have learned the ethics, I have learned the ABC of journalism, and also I learned how to report from the ground. What's happening here, the unfortunate part is, subject now, anybody can pass any exam. Why? Because most of the people are online, offline, they're doing it on, and there is no way of your personal interest because of the scarcity of jobs, people looking for a quick jobs or somewhere they wanted to join without any proper training. And that is why also one of the reasons why the number of journalists have been increased dying on the field, because there is no, you have not learned the proper way. And I have noticed in my experience as a reporter from the war zone that many of the people also have not received ABC of the training. Only certain international agencies where they subject their journalists to very strict protocols to follow and to learn, and they put them on the training and they teach you this, then you are learning. The rest of it, I have seen them on the field, they don't know how to stand, where to stand, and why. Like, I give you an example. One of my colleagues, a young man, he was in my hometown. I was in India and I saw him running. He said, I'm going to report to the field of Syrian war. I just sent him a simple message, just take care of yourself. And within an hour, he was killed. He was killed with the sniper. They shot hit him with the bomb, and he died. I mean, he was too close to the soldiers. So you have not learned the ABC of how to protect yourself. You become an easy target because neither you have a gun, nor you have a jacket, bulletproof jacket, nor a helmet. Nothing is there, and even you are not even putting your own equipment on you to be visible to the people, to identify you as a press person. And these are the issues where if you are not having a proper teaching or a curriculum to teach you all this aspect of the profession, you will not succeed. It's just like you're throwing somebody on the sea and you tell him swim. If you are not a good swimmer, you will drown. And that is how the same thing in journalism. You need to be up to the mark in every part of your studies. Even you have to update yourself on a regular basis. No matter what subject, what you may have, I can hang 100 degrees behind me. It makes no difference. It depends how do I report from the field, how I protect myself, how do I make the news which I'm going to report to the audience, to the viewers, true and also comprehensive, with a good subject, with a good language, with a good voice, with a good linguistic. These are the ethics where you need to learn it only from a good profession. Yeah, I think that's, I have lots of story to tell, and I don't know how much I can go with you. I can narrate. I'm writing my books at least on the Iraq War, which is going to be a factual book. I'm already in the process of finishing it. I hope I can, because it took me so long to come out of the trauma and the events I have taken. You know, when you are a reporting good reporter and you're telling the truth, there are people on the ground who can save your skin. When I was reporting the invasion of America, I was embedded with the American troops. And immediately then, when I was there, I was captured by the Iraqi government's forces, and we were taken into captivity, and we were surrounded by hundreds of, fighters, freedom fighters, suicidal bombers, and they were ready to waiting for. And they thought I'm a foreigner. I'm a spy, or I'm an American, because my look, my face, my dress, my allies, everything was American. So there was nothing that I can prove except my language. To my luck, two of the people there could identify me, that they have seen me in Afghanistan and Kashmir on the Arabic channel. And they said, you are Waiel Awwad, we saw you on this channel. So immediately 50% of your being an Arab and being a journalist, everybody said, okay, somebody recognized him among us. So that's also give you one of the reasons. And the second reason where I have the experience was the Iraqi general who after a few days, he told me, you know what saved you? I said, what? He said, we were watching the tapes we confiscated from you, and we noticed how you were talking to the American soldiers when they were treating the Iraqi prisoners of war. So the prisoners of war were ill-treated by the American, and I was confronting them. And I said, you cannot. These are against Geneva Convention. These are surrendered to you, and you should not put them in this, handcuffed and in the sun 8-12 hours. So all these tapes were, washed, and they realized that this is a very professional way of handling journalism and all. And that's why it was safe, and we were able, in fact, to escape and run. The story will continue. But this is one of the main experience. The other experience which I have when I was detained in Afghanistan was also a similar way of detention that they have detained me when Ahmad Shah Massoud was killed in 2000. I was in Khushabahuddin with the North Alliance forces, and the same day he was killed. So He was killed by two Arab who faked themselves terrorists from Al Qaeda, faked they were journalists, and they killed. And he said, "How come you are here? You are an Arab. You are a Taliban. You are Afghanistan. You are a Bin Laden, and all this." So they detained me for 3 days. Of course, they released me because of the officials of Afghani officials. They told him he's our personal guest, and they released me. But in one of the incidents, I was on one of a famous Kela in on the Silk Route in the Northern Alliance part, Khyber Pass and all. And then one of the boys was telling me, "You have to have presence of mind." He said, "You are Arabs?" I said, "Yes." He said, "You are Taliban. You are Bin Laden." I said, "Why? You are Muslim?" I said. He said, "Yes, I am a Muslim." I said, "You like to go to Hajj?" He said, "Yes, I like to go to Hajj." It was just simple language. I'm just trying to understand how I have to communicate, because I was communicating with his own language, and that is the most important part. You should learn the language of the people they speak, whether Persian or Pashtun. So he was speaking Persian, and I know Persian, so I could manage to tell him. I said, "Do you like to go to Hajj?" He said, "Yes, I would love to." I said, "But Hajj is in Saudi Arabia." He said, "Yes, I know." I said, "But Bin Laden is a Saudi. How you will go to Hajj now?" So, for a moment, he thought about it with the gun in his hand. AK-47 was going to dark it on my chest. He put the gun down. He moved like this for me. He said, go from here now. Go save your skin. You saved your skin." And he moved. So there are incidents. It's merely luck, sheer luck that you have been saved, or could be also your presence of mind at that moment saved your skin. Some of our friends in Nangarhar, in the province, they were killed at the gunpoint. They just opened the door and they shot them in the head. Two journalists were killed those days. So it's all depends how you present yourself on the ground, and how these are matter of your experience reporting from the war zone, and you have been also already studied about the area. If you do not know about the people, their culture, their this, you will be lost. So you need to learn all these things, and that is only when you are preparing yourself to go to that trip, and you know that this is going to be a war, a long haul war, and you have to be well prepared, well trained to know where to go, how to protect yourself, and how to understand. These are only by experience. No books can teach you, no book can teach you anything on no matter what you spend your whole life in the archives, unless and until you sit down, listen to what happened on the ground. These are the experience where we gain, and we like to give it to our friends and our colleagues who are also in the war zone, because most of my friends who have traveled to different war zone, or even after I leave, they definitely consult me, they ask me, they take some advice before they travel, and we give them, like we have loss of something, we always give them the extra things, the tips they needed to be safe and to come back and report from the ground. No, Western hegemony is because there are corporate houses who look after the major news agency and television channel who are run. They have their own reason, and their country also. They are colonists. When the colonial country they're having their troops on the ground, definitely he will come and report a good story of how they are saving humanity on the region and how they are doing a good job, the good soldiers. So they don't give you the bad soldiers what they are doing on the ground. Therefore, you need to understand that these are the way of reporting conflict. It depends whom you belong to. And if you belong to the invader, definitely when I am standing with an American who was in Tura Bora or is reporting for his own channel in the United States, he knows his audience. He knows he has to direct his voice to them. He was talking about the patriotic way, the nationality he's trying to give. They're calling them the enemy. They're calling themselves the patriotic. I'm sorry, I'm a journalist. I have nothing to do with your identifying yourself on the ground, how to report. So therefore, there are monopolies of the West have been broken for a long time. Now, no more. I remember during the early days of the invasion of the American in Afghanistan, like one of our Arabic reporter, he was kept by his channel for 3 years on Kabul, like Al Jazeera guy. He had nothing. There wasn't any story those days. But the trends were showing that America going to invade. So when we know that American going to invade Afghanistan, the guy was on the ground, he was preparing, he felt he gave up, he fed up. There's nothing in Afghanistan you can do. But when he started reporting the war, he was the only one. see the importance of the monopoly of the West was broken. So when the American in the second Gulf War, they went to Iraq to liberate Kuwait, they were the American CNN, BBC, the international agency were covering the ground, and they were showing the glory of the American and how they destroy what is this. But then you had somebody else who was doing for you different kind of the story, which you may have different narrative of the same picture you see. I was with the American. I saw the might of the American attacking the Iraqi. I was captured by the Iraqi, kept in the Iraq. I saw the American hitting where the Iraqi. They don't differentiate or distinguish between civilian target or a military target. So you find lots of collateral damage and lots of civilian victims and casualties on the ground. Who nobody going to report for you this, or you see captivity of a soldiers and American or British soldiers where their prime minister lying in the parliament. But then I can tell you on the ground, it's a very different story. So we need to focus on we need to say that reporting nowadays is very difficult for any channel to manipulate because of the social media, because of depending on the local journalists, because of the bloggers, because of accessibility of the technology that made it easy for anybody to report from the ground. So it is very difficult to sell a fake story. That is why you have so much of fake news and good news and true news. And that is what we are facing the problem with this. So I think what we need is to focus more on the issues related to reporting, and also that we forget where you belong to and the corporate house. Because if you are a good journalist, you need to report fact on the ground. But when the monopoly has been broken, it is there. But you do not need to speak every language when you travel. But you need to know the culture of the people. You need to know the locals. You need to contact them. You need to know the safety, the culture, the society, how you will be able to mix what they are eating. American troops, when they invaded Afghanistan and Iraq, they used to barge into the houses at midnight, telling everybody they on the ground. In the culture of the people there, women cover themselves. You can't just put the gun on their head. So there will be revenge from the parents on the children against the American invaders. So these are the cultural things which you do not understand unless you know the culture of the people. You can't just barge into my house in the middle of the night when the children, the family, the mother, the girls are all together. So that is where they have broken that jinx, and that they have broken the trust of the people, and they hate them. For this reason, nobody likes invaders, because you do not understand the culture of the people. So these are issues where you only learn when you understand how you should deal with me as an Arab, or as an Indian, or as any Asian, or as an African. You need to understand. It's not that you are coming with your troops and you are a hero. Your country is invaders. You are looters. You are not a hero. Report fact on the ground.
Yeah.
You know, it is to a large extent, you have to be very objective, neutral of your reporting. It's difficult and emotional when you are reporting for a country, it is related to you by blood, or it's your own country. So it's very difficult to be balanced sometimes, judging correctly what you are reporting. Because there are certain emotion definitely will have effect. Because if there is no emotion even in your story, there will be no viewers. So therefore, some people are driven by their emotion, and they go away from reality on the ground. So having said that, I would say you need to be very, very calm, very composed, and you have to report. When we were with the American, we were giving more than 250 don'ts and 50 do's. So like, you do not show the American injured, you don't show the hand, you don't show the face, you don't show the the plate, who don't so the parent there back home is fine. But if I have to show Iraqi, it's fine. If I show the death of the Iraqi, it's fine. Why is good for the Iraqi to show them killing, and is bad for an American to show his amputated hand or his injury to his family? So you can understand the way they are driving you into that sort of mindset. Just like in medicine, we say, when I give you my treatment, I know that your course of recovery is exactly the same thing in the media. When they want to feed you only certain story with emotion and all, means they wanted you either sympathize with them or sympathize with the local. So people, it depends on which front are you in. if you are with the invader or you are with the local. So therefore, emotion plays a major part in reporting. But I don't think objectivity should deny you the fact that you should be very objective in your reporting and avoid being too much emotion. It's very difficult. Certain place, I felt it in Iraq, I felt it in Yemen, I felt it even in Syria. It's a bit difficult because you're coming with different mindset. For you, a bad story about the regime is a good story for your audience. So you don't accept good story. So that's different. I'm not here because I have something. I'm set with certain criteria and protocol I have to follow. That's what your target is. No, I'm sorry. I will. I was in Iraq. People saying on my channel, they were telling me, but the Arab view, the Arab street, the public opinion is different from your reporting. I said that's not my job. It's for the people to report, to see and judge and analyze and take their position. It's not my position. Why should I change my way of reporting because to suit the audience? No, I have to report. I have to be very practical, very factual about my reporting. And there where the truth is, you have always to dig for the truth. And your audience define yourself, your role within your audience. So I have to be very objective and practical and composed in reporting on the ground any kind of injury. So there are lots of challenges one has to face, and it depends, by the way, to whom you are belong, whom you are covering was. Some of the story they may run it for you. Some of the story they deny it. If you go live, is fine. You can escape. Sometimes you lose your job. Sometimes they put you behind bars. Sometimes they send somebody else. They said no, he is not understanding our line of coverage. So it's a very big challenge and it's a big subject. I can't answer you in a very short spell of time. Well, in Syria, there was lots of fake news in the beginning. You know, there were lots of movement, and like, for example, some Arabic channel were paying hefty amount of money for locals, for bloggers. You give money, you just report some kind of demonstration, for example. So, like if you are in a school or university, I give you some placard, I give you something to carry on your head, down with the regime, down with the government, and I give some money to the boys and all, and let them come out of the street, and I report. So I get good amount because of the camera shot the things. Nobody follow. Is it true? It is not true. So you get fake news, but the public opinion build up on the fake news. Who cares after that? You can talk of academic interest only for you and the subject in the university that this was fake, but it happened. I have seen in my own eyes where somebody is on the ground. They were parading coffins for somebody who died, and there were two children lying on the floor full of blood, and they were dead. And then after the finishing of the shooting was shown in all over the channels, like government is killing the children, government is slaughtering their own people. And if you continue to watch the YouTube movie, you'll see the two boys walking alive. But for you saw it in a very reputed channel. You say, wow, this is carried out by CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, Al Arabiya. My God, this must be reliable, and this regime should go. But I am belonging to that region. I've seen it in my own eyes. That's a fake. The two boys were walking alive. A girl was reported that she's missing, and on television she has been shown by all the channels that they found some bones and all. They said that the regime chopped her body, threw her bones, and the regime is so savage, killing his own people. And after 2 months, the girl was interviewed on the Syrian TV, and she said, "No, I am alive. I ran away with my boyfriend. My parents want me to get married by force. I refuse, and I'm alive." No one reported the second story, the correct story, but everybody reported the chopping of the bones. But the damage is done. So what I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to protect one part of the other. Everybody is guilty in the wartime. There are lots of truth. There are lots of untrue story. There are lots of fake. There are lots of bad reporting. But you need to do investigation and follow up. You do not have to fake a story because you wanted to destroy a country. There where you are is same in Yemen. Even the UN now. Can you believe it? After 6 years, the UN investigative journal team have found out that there are 2 million Yemeni are starving to death children. Why couldn't you see them for the last 5 years? For what you have give 6 years of war on top of their head, the poorest of the poor country in the world, and you close the sea, you close the sky, you close the the land accessibility, and you expect them to survive. So stop the war. Stop playing with the human life. So these are the issues where nobody wants you to report, because there is a setup of regime change policy, which they have set it up, those countries, vested interest countries, American and the West, to change. Even the United States said it there themselves, that we wanted to change a regime, 7 countries. Wellesley, the former general of the United States, he was told by the American administration, Pentagon, we have 7 countries to topple within. It was Syria, Somalia, Lebanon, Iraq, Iran, yes, and Egypt, and Iran, and Libya. 7 countries. Why? What was wrong with this? Why you are suffering? That means if I have to topple this regime, I give you finished. This is your target. This country has to go. This regime has to go. This government has to go. So it is immaterial what I am reporting now, because nobody is going to listen whether I'm telling the truth or the fake, because the corporate behind those invaders, the war machines, the war machineries that are selling the arms industry, are definitely happy to make sure that this regime go and bring another regime, so their arm can flourish and they can sell their arm to both the sides. So there, the reporting on the ground was fake. Invasions of people from 103 countries from all over the world, 173,000 mercenaries came from all over the world. It came through Turkey into Syria and Iraq, and they did havoc in the countries and killing people, slaughtering people. You have seen it what the IS terrorist organization, Al Qaeda did. They were parading and showing on television. We have our people who died, is not your people died. You give the fear, the Islamophobia you created, but we paid in our own blood, with our own money, with our own people, because you wanted to achieve something of your own interest, not of the interest of the people. So stop the wars by stop intervening on the system on those countries. You cannot talk of democracy in Taiwan or in Hong Kong, or you talk of democracy of one person, and you're saying that this is happening in Myanmar, when you are slaughtering 500,000 children of Iraq, or 500 kids of Syria, 500,000 kids of Syria, 2 million on 1 million of Yemen or Libya. So this double standard of dealing with, I don't want to take it into the political point of view, but there the argument lies. And that's what I'm trying to explain here, that these are the issues where challenging reporters faces, and you will not be even, they will be outcasted, because who is running? What is the media you are giving the voice? Is everybody listening to your point of view, or there are the global media who's bothering about their own? So these are the issues one has to, keep in mind. You see, being a profession in on your life, it's very difficult to not to report on the ground. Like I was in the ground, I forgot totally about my children, my family. I forgot about my lifestyle. I just wanted to report from the ground. It was just a gush, being young, being pushed into, you wanted to be in the front, you want to show the world. And then when you are in captivity, you recognize and you realize, hello, for whom I am, why I have to lose my life? Why should I lose my life for whom? Was it worth it seriously to go into this much of danger in your life? But here you are. I mean, I was interviewed with CNN when I came out from the Iraqi 2003, and they said, will you go again? I said, that's my profession. Definitely I will go again. But I will be more cautious. I will be definitely more cautious. I will take and keep in my mind my family, my children, my life before I go again to report a war, because it's not worth it. You lose for anybody except your own self. You do not deserve to go to anybody to fight. Trust me on this. No channel deserve, no corporate house deserve, nobody deserve, except you, and your life should be protected. So therefore, it was a very difficult, emotional impact was very strong. And the worst part was that we were shot at in Ras sector. We were shot in Jaffna. I was shot at in Afghanistan. We were captured in Afghanistan and in Iraq. And it was at the moment when you are in captivity, you start remembering that you have a family, you have a children. Why you left it and you went behind all this you left behind you. So there is emotional to attach to it. That is why practically you must also talk to the people. You must tell your story. You must mix up with the people. Tell them, pick up one or two of your colleagues. Tell them that where you are, where about, what are your movement, what is your locations. Talk to the people. Document everything of your life. And let some people know, because these are the issues where sometimes if you disappear, if you are whereabout, nobody knows. At least they know where last you have been seen or you are talking to. And that is the important part of, at least to keep your mental strength very strong. And most of the people, in fact, who comes out of the war, they do not even take a professional advice, that professional consultation. Post-traumatic. And post-traumatic, you must seek the advice of as professionals into the to treat yourself. No matter what you may say, I'm strongly mentally. No, everybody comes with disturbance. That's why when you look at the warriors and the American Marines, or some of the soldiers who go, either they go mad or they start killing themselves, suicidal, or killing people. And so all this psychological impact is so huge on the people. Some of them, salvation, they go to take joints and hookahs, and they go and smoke joints to forget how much they're suffering. So professional treatment post-traumatic is very important to keep your strengths back and gain and revive your life back into normalcy. Well, see, I cope with the feeling because being a doctor also, I understand. I have done also yoga, studied in India, and I have practiced yoga for years. And that also helped me. Then I start sitting with the group owner. I did not go into that nightmares of the impact because I was mentally prepared. I was mentally prepared for every eventualities. In everywhere you go, you must always think of the worst and things. And that is why my confidence, my faith in God, my faith in myself was very strong. In fact, I sometimes I pray to God, and I know that it was Him who saved me. Otherwise, and my family, their prayers, I was. That is because good people die, bad people also die. But sometimes your mere luck comes when God protect you. But this maybe my time was not there. That's why I was surviving. I mean, seven lives. I have survived the different part of the world, traveling. Sometimes you may die a normal death. So it's very difficult to maintain this sort of emotion when it comes to dealing with your own reporting on the ground and the trauma you are facing. So I have faced lots of this, and I came back with the love, with the affections, with the friends around you. All this have made you feel back that you are able to live in your normal life and come, stay, or report the same way you are doing. But maybe I'm not going to be as young as I used to be in my early life, where that blood and gush was there, is no more definitely. But I will definitely be able to report and give you a good pictures, because I know what audience, what the viewers wanted to know. And that is what is the truth. And that is why we say honesty and accuracy in your reporting is your way. These are your assets for your viewers. That's why people in the Arab world remember, or internationally respect you, because they know you have nothing, no, payrolls, no back payment for you. Nothing is there. You are hard chest nuts to break. So they like your reporting, and you are telling the truth on the ground. Well, social media have its own pros and cons also. It is a sort of double edges. It can be good, it can be a nuisance, or it could be an asset. So it depends on who is using it and how you are using it. So social media, definitely, it's a new way of reporting, a new way of communication, new way of putting challenges for the traditional journalism. But at the same time, yes, you can have good news, you can have fake news, you can have bad news. So there is no way you can segregate it. But the advantage of this, I always say it is advantage. I am on favor of using all these facilities. Why? Because as a student, as a researcher, as an investigator, I have more sources. I can widen my knowledge. I can widen my investigation. I can analyze. I can browse. I can find out the backstories, the depth of it. Is it true? Is it fake? What is the motive behind? Why are they giving me this news? I show you something on television. It's a challenge. I have 3 minutes story used to be 5 minutes, then 3 minutes, then 2 minutes, then 1.5 minutes. Can I give you the whole story in 1.5 minutes? No. So unless and until I look at the wider picture, I will never understand what was the reason for you choosing this subject for me. Like nowadays, journalism, Twitter, and all, you have different few words to say. That's not the report. Actually, this is not the analytic you are looking at, but that is the trends. Nobody have the time to sit down and watch 3 hours Hindi movie. Maybe they can watch 1.5 hour Netflix, or 1 hour, or maybe with friends. So nobody have that time. So it's a similar things in television and in the news. Nobody see lots of channels around. You keep on browsing from different channels. So unless and until something of interest bring it to your mind, you will not be able to report. So social media plays a role of reporting on the ground, giving you the news, and shorten also the length of your story. But as I always say, I always rely on the viewers and the audiences who are able to do more investigation, more research, and to give you a better, strong analysis skills and weigh the situation from the ground. Because some of the people, like if I find some people were sitting on the, in the hotel in my country, some Indian journalists have reported the Syrian conflict, and they were looking at some Al Jazeera channel, and they say there is demonstration in this street of Damascus, and he has to force and pay double the taxi driver to take him to see where is this demonstration. And then he said, I just walked into the street of that where they were saying there is a volatile anti-government demonstration, and it looked like any street of Kolkata. So it's different story. So you see, social media, I said it can be a sort of two edges, and people are using it for their own advantage and benefit, irrespective of what is actually you are doing on the ground at the cost of others. So you must understand the challenge is there, and we should be able to face this challenge and make sure that journalism would remain with it is ethics and protocol as it has been before, but with the new technology.